Good evening and welcome to the EA Drainage District Number 1 Board of Commissioners meeting tonight, September 9th. We are missing currently Mr. Melanson, Mr. Robert, Mr. Arsenault, and Mr. Cullen. Mr. Joseph, would you do us the honor of the invocation of the pledge?
Bow our head. Dear Lord, bless this great nation, bless this great state, bless this great parish. Bless all the board members tonight, make the right decision for this great parish. And most of all, bless the armed forces service members that serve this great country today. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda item number 3, public comment period. If you would like to speak on an item, please go to the front here, fill out a red or green card, and we will allow you 3 minutes to speak on that item. Agenda item 4A, acceptance of the 8/12/2025 drainage meeting minutes.
Motion.
Need a motion by Mr. Varnadoe, second by Mr. Hillingsbeck. Any questions, any objections? Hearing none. Agenda item number 5, Chairman's report. I have nothing to add. Mr. President / Drainage Director, do you have anything to add? All right, we're all good. Appreciate it, sir. Agenda item 6A, general business. Approval to enter into a contract between Ascension Parish Government and BLD Services for CIPP pipelining on Manchac Lane Drive for the amount of $115,625. Motion, Mr. Hillingsbeck. Second, Ms. Starr. Any questions, any objections? Hearing none. Item 6B, approval of the letter of intent between EACGDD1 and NWI that acknowledges that NWI has existing infrastructure on the 26.909 acre tract that will need to be relocated to maximize the use of this tract for its intended purposes of regional retention, and that the drainage district will incorporate the utility relocation in the project design, and approve President Quitmall to sign and execute a letter of intent. Motion, Mr. Hillingsbeck. Second, Mr. Varnadoe. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none. Agenda item 6C, approval of change order number 1 with Huron Co. LLC to increase the contract amount by $512,605.43 and to add an additional 52 days to the contract, bringing the new total of the contract not to exceed $1,439,181.18. Motion, Ms. Alonzo. Got questions? Mr. Hillingsbeck.
I was just curious what y'all figured out y'all gonna have to do with that.
So we do have some alternates. Can we bring that presentation up? So we looked at 4 different alternates, with the parishes Geotech, Gulf South. And I can quickly go through the alternates. So these are the sites that we looked at. There were 4 specific sites. Obviously, they were short, but because they almost touch each other, we just assumed just encompassed the whole outline in blue. So option 1, so this, we kind of had to think out of the box because, we have steel sheet pile already in place. So option 1 entailed excavating on the backside, which you see that 15-foot dimension, to an elevation of 2, and then we're going to install some wick drains. So we do have some water issues coming from the grave site. So we're going to pick up that water and transmit it to the canal via these wick drains, and we're going to punch a hole into the sheet pile. So we're going to excavate first, straighten the sheet piles that need to be straightened, and then we're going to backfill it with styrofoam. And now I'm calling it styrofoam, but it's a special styrofoam that you use for. So the intent is to lighten up that soil, so you won't have that downward pressure. So that's the point of the styrofoam, and we're doing that for all options because we want to get that weight off of the backside as much as, take that weight off. We're gonna place the styrofoam and then put some backfill on top of that.
That stuff will last a long time.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And the water doesn't penetrate. It's not like a regular styrofoam, but it's a high-density styrofoam. So alternate one, we're also gonna put 30 to 50-pound riprap. So basically, you're removing that wedge is what you're doing. Because what was happening is that water was infiltrating, and it was causing some real bad soils down below, and it caused that, that tilting effect. So that stone, and between the stone, the lighter weight on the back side and the stone on the front side is gonna keep it, more, engineering wise. So we looked at, option 1, 2, 3, and 4. Option 2 is a little bit different in that we would use the excavated material on the backside and place it in front of the sheet pile. Again, we were just exploring all the different type of alternates to try and reuse whatever we could. And then place riprap on top of that. It is a viable option. However, once you start placing dirt in water, it's going to dissipate. And so it is a viable option, but we just wanted to, present it to you guys and just so as another option. So option 3 is a timber soldier pile. So basically what this entails, okay, we don't have a detail, but essentially we're doing the backside. We're going to excavate the backside, straighten the sheets out, place the foam, and then backfill on top of the foam. Then we're going to come with 12-inch timber piles spaced at every 5 foot. And then we're going to put a whaler, a timber whaler. That's how we're going to connect the sheets. So let me back up a little bit. So option 1 is around $350,000 cost-wise, 40 days requested. Option 2 is about almost $300,000, 33 days requested, and that's additional construction days. And the soldier pile, timber pile is about $478,000, 51 days. And the last option, again, we're doing the excavation on the backside, putting the styrofoam, and then we're coming back with 8-inch steel piles, 45-foot length, 10-foot spacing. And then we're going to have a steel whaler, like an I-beam, in front of that, and that's how we're going to tie everything together. So, but this is 52 days. So we just put the worst-case scenario on the change order, so I guess it's up for discussion, how you guys want to move forward.
Y'all get to figure that out. What's it probably be best?
So we looked at this, the geotech looked at it in detail. These are all viable options. The soldier pile would probably be the preferred, as an engineer, the preferred method. But again, I think any of the 4 would do the trick.
Chair?
Are you complete, Mr. Hillsback? Yes, sir.
So when we looked at this, and obviously, I could go back in time, me and Ron would have chosen to do this differently, but here we are today. And so, with them extending that bulkhead 2011, we supplied the material. We did not do any of the contracting. So we don't know how it was done, but we do know that it was extended out into the channel. That created a lot of our issues we have today, okay? And so I wanted a multi-use solution to ensure that we put every insurance policy that we don't have to come back in a decade, we don't have to come back in 2 decades, because the cost will be 4 times what this change order is, minimum, all right? And so, we want to throw everything we got at it, because we just cannot have a failure in the future with this particular site due to the parameters of the situation with the cemetery. and having to come back. So as you can imagine, when you drive in those piles down deep, is that soil and that vibration of driving those massive sheets causes a type of slurry down deep in the soil. That's part of the issue. Then we get rainwater, and we get water on the backside, and we got pressure, and we got nothing within the channel, so we got bad soils due to the 2011 construction, the vibration of the sheet piles, and then the overall weight behind with the machines running and doing the job on the backside, compacting and adding even more pressure on the steel wall. So never do I want to come back and have this kind of change order with this kind of fix, ever. And with the BECO situation where we had purchased a property, I don't envision us, and I certainly don't support, I imagine you wouldn't support buying a cemetery, right? So that's not an option. So the option is to spend the money and do whatever's necessary today so that this is behind us and we don't create a future problem for an existing administration and a future council. And so we're in support of throwing everything we got at it. And those 45-foot timber piles or the steel pilings is probably what's going to give us the support we need to ensure that we go down to a surface that has some integrity down there in those piles. And the styrofoam, of course, reducing that weight on the backside and pushing it, and the weep holes so that the water doesn't accumulate on the backside. So all of those solutions coming together gives us our best possibility that we don't have a future issue or problem. And so it's a large amount of money, and it brings everybody heartburn, from the contractor to the engineer to us to y'all. But I don't see any other option, because if we go shortchange this today, there is no doubt that a future administration and a future council will be dealing with this issue in the future. So we need to do everything possible to ensure that this project is completed and it is behind us, and it is a structure that holds for a long, long time. And that's the objective. That's my comments, Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Fondue?
What is the duration of what y'all are estimating each option to hold? And are we, once the work is completed, I mean, this may be an extremely stupid question, but what is the insurance, liability as far as the contract is concerned, engineering firm, as far as how long that's supposed to contain itself versus what you're predicting with the material?
So standard practice on the construction side, it's basically a year-long warranty. Now, as far as how long it's going to last, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't think anybody does here, but, just so the steel sheets will,
Yeah, I mean, I guess
the
that's
steel
what I
sheets
meant.
will
The steel
stand
sheets
the
are meant for
50 years.
50
Yeah,
years versus the timber 30, 35, I'm guessing, depending
Well,
on the soil and the pH levels and all that
correct.
kind of good stuff down there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, your steel sheets and your steel piles will last longer than the timbers will. Yeah.
What is the moisture? You said there's moisture coming from the cemetery itself. Is it some kind of moisture coming from underneath and it's getting in the, obviously the
Correct.
slurry? And
It is.
how far back do y'all, have they kind of, geotech, have they done anything further back? As far back until you don't find, I mean, again, I'm not an engineer, but did we go back as far to where we start hitting solid soil, so far back, within the cemetery? I know it's private.
So the contractor, as he was moving his equipment, the slope started moving a little bit, and where the existing tiebacks were is basically where it stopped. So, and you're talking about another, 10 feet, and you were at the graves. So, but that water was coming underneath the gravesite. It wasn't just like trickling on top. So it was definitely undermining somewhere. We, we're not going poke holes in the cemetery to locate that area. But that's hence the reason for the drains, is whenever that water gets in those drains, it's going to move that water out to the sheets and into the water. Get that water outside, away from the backside of the sheets. That's the intent.
Yeah, there's no drainage structure inside the cemetery, so it doesn't drain back and then out somewhere. It comes to the bulkhead, probably why, I mean, you can envision, this bulkhead was, 2011?
Yeah.
And so this 2025 is not the year of failure. We've had the year of failure probably for a couple years. So you can judge about how long that other bulkhead lasted, right? And that's a lot of water runoff from rains and everything else. It's gonna get behind that bulkhead, it's gonna create washouts. And again, we don't have, or didn't have the luxury of watching that contractor put that in. We just paid for the materials and they put it in. So, which is something we don't probably want to do in the future, right, when we have something like this happen. So, but all that rain that falls in that cemetery has to go somewhere, and it's going to that outfall, and it's going behind that bulkhead. So without the weep holes and other things that starts to accumulate in that soil, especially if it can't get out, and it starts to build pressure, and that water is weight. I think it's eight pounds per gallon, if I'm not mistaken. So, you can imagine just a massive rain and build up in moisture. And if it can't get out of there, it starts to build up pressure and weight behind there, and it starts to have an impact. Add that on with the construction that took place and the vibrations and everything. That's why we immediately started to see failure so quickly. But I'm glad we did. I'm gonna be honest, because this would have shown itself 60 days from now, after the contractor's gone and everything looks rosy, and we done put the back material in and hydro seeded it and made it all nice, and all of a sudden we have this movement. So, I hate to count good graces, but it is that we noticed this failures early, and within construction, so we can fix them.
So if we're basically, I mean, we're insuring this for basically for the folks whose relatives obviously chases, if we're basically their insurance policy for these graves and whatnot, why is it that we either not get permission on private property to do some kind of soil samples in order to make sure we got some kind of stability as far back as we can? It's just a stupid question, maybe.
Yeah, we don't have the liability for the graves. That's their responsibility. They signed an agreement with us to cost share on this bulkhead, which is around 150,000. 150,000 is what the church put up. So, but we're not responsible for the graves. We're not going in and fixing graves if they have failures within their system. We're in for 1.5, easy. That's as far as our liability
But
goes.
if there wasn't graves there, we wouldn't be going to this extent, is what I'm saying. So that's obviously, I mean, that's why we're spending the money we're spending, is because there's a grave there. I know we don't have the liability, but if the graves weren't there, we wouldn't be, going into this extent and spending, hoping 1.5 million does it and another $500,000, So we're obviously, I mean, we're giving the grave some kind of insurance policy, which is fine, not formally, but I just, I mean, at this point, you kind of got to do what you got to do, but goodness, 1 year, and if something was to happen with kind of not knowing the stability that far back, that's just crazy to me. It's my opinion.
It's the same thing with the BECO job, right? I mean, we could fight that, and you can go to an engineer and after the fact for so long, but again, it's a losing battle, and you just end up spending a ton of money in court, and then you still got to fix it, and then who knows how the judge is gonna rule, and it's cheaper for us to just buy the trailer and buy the land at BECO and fix it ourselves and put some riprap there and be done. We have to look at it from that kind of standpoint sometime. But yeah.
We all good? I got a motion, Ms. Alonso. Did I get a second? Hillingsbeck, with a second. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn, Ms. Alonso. Second, Mr. Hillingsbeck. We are adjourned.